Hey everyone, and welcome to the weekly review. So let's take a look at all of the indices on a weekly time frame to see how they fared this week. And just like they have for I don't know how many months now, they are once again just keep trucking along here. We are very bullish on this weekly ES chart, almost pushing up to that plus 3 ATR. So it's always a place that you do have to be hesitant because there's always a higher chance of the market likely going to revert either down to that 8 EMA or that 21 EMA, depending on how drastic the pullback will be. But I am still very bullish. Everything about this weekly chart looks wonderful. Going down to the Qs, this week, just like last week, had a very strong push um, up once again to that plus 3 ATR region. Next week will be a good week to watch to see if it can continue, which would be surprising. I think that we may either chop around at that level or come back down to this 8 EMA as it is quite extended on the weekly chart to that upside. The Dow here is forming a nice weekly squeeze here. We're holding this 8 EMA and we have now for a few weeks, so everything about this one is still holding its structure very nicely, and I do think that we can see a continuation if this squeeze does start to turn to the upside with some lighter blue bars. Now the indice that I actually like the best here is the Russell or small caps. So looking at this one, we can see that we have a nice high compression squeeze down here in this weekly. We're getting some bullish momentum back into it, and now we finally have 2 weeks of closes above that 21 EMA. I think that this one had a nice consolidation period. We formed the squeeze, and I think it's time for this weekly squeeze to start moving back up to that upside. So within the next few months, I think that small caps and anything within the Russell will be looking solid to the upside with another push, hopefully up into this plus 3 ATR region. So now going back over them, let's look at the daily time frame and how we are looking on these ones as well. So if we come in here today, pretty flat across the board between all the indices, but these last, what is this, last 4 days have been pretty stagnant. Not a whole lot's going on there. We did have this daily squeeze fire, which has gave us this nice push off of that 8 EMA, and we'll keep moving up. But these are times when we're hitting this plus 2 and kind of rejecting it that we may look to go back down to this 21 EMA. Not saying that it will, but we do keep making all-time highs, so it's always good to be hesitant of when a stock will start to pull back once again. So now looking at the Qs on the daily time frame as well, we can see that just like the ES had the squeeze fire, we did go up here to that plus 3, but just like them, it's kind of these last 4 days have kind of been a consolidation. These little doji candles these last 3 days, and then finally we got a little push, but still inside of those wicks, so really not moving a whole lot here. We'll see if next week it can continue this squeeze firing, or if we do start to get that reversion. The Dow on the daily looks solid actually. We do have a daily squeeze setting up here. We've been holding this 21, so we had it once, twice, 3 times, and then today as well. And they've been holding that 21 every time and bouncing right off of this one. So I do like the Dow to the upside. It's the only indice that's not quite extended. So I think this would be a good one looking forward into next week to potentially get some long plays out of the Dow. And then the Russell, as we've discussed this one before. So we had this squeeze fire to the upside. I do still believe that we're going to go touch this resistance up at, what is that, about 2350. I think that that's where this one can go. It is a little bit extended to the upside to ever enter anything in this, but still looks very solid in my opinion. We did get the rejection here and here of that plus 2 ATR, but I am liking this one with that weekly squeeze setting up for a continuation, and hopefully is going to be breaking that resistance at 2350 and hopefully just continuing to make more all-time highs. So that's my overview of the indices and kind of where the stocks are at. Looking at the plays that we called out this week, just to get an overview of those ones. So looking at AMD here, we called this one out right here at this candle. Had a little bit of a drop the other day. Today we got a little bit of a push of it with the semiconductors having a nice move. Did reject that +1 ATR, but I'm just loving this structure on it with the squeeze, gaining that bullish momentum, still trading nicely above that 21 EMA, and now this 8 EMA as well. So I still like AMD a lot to the upside, and definitely think that we can have a nice continuation up to potentially um, the highs up here, or even these highs up here. The next one that I called out was Roblox. So this one, we entered the trade um, on this candle right around that 21 EMA. Had a little bit of a push here, held that 8 EMA, and now today we had a little bit of a gap down, getting our first close below that 21 EMA, unfortunately. Um, Still rejecting this candle's low right here, which I do like to see. It bounced strong off of that, so I am still liking this setup quite a bit. Hopefully come Tuesday we will see it jump back above that 21 EMA and hope for a continuation to that upside to test these +2 ATR levels. And then the last one we called out for the group was DHI. So if we look at its sector quick, ITB, this one has a nice setup going on here, good structure. Did come down and test the 21 EMA. I should have been more patient with this one and waited until today to get that pullback on the sector itself, because it had that pullback perfectly and then bounced off that 21 EMA. So I did enter this one a little bit too early, but I still like its setup because its sector looks strong. But this one did, unfortunately, yes, close below that 21 EMA. But I do think with its sector bouncing off that 21 that this one will recapture that level, and then we'll have a continuation to this upside. So all the stocks that we entered this week still look solid. All the plays are still very valid. No structure has been compromised or broken. So everything going into next week is leading to believe that our plays will play out the way that we hope, and if not, we will cut them short. So this is my weekly review. Hopefully you all get a better picture of where the market is at and what we could potentially see these upcoming weeks. Have a great weekend, everyone.